The upcoming 2020 NBA draft is generally considered a weak draft. While there are multiple players in this draft that can wind up all-stars, there isn't that can't-miss prospect who's a clear star before he even plays in the NBA. There is no Zion or Luka in this draft. While this may not be the best draft, there are several prospects that will end up becoming high-quality players. In this video, I'm going to do comparisons for the top 10 prospects. While these comparisons won't be pinpoint accurate, they will give you a good idea of what type of players these prospects are and what their potential is. The first player I'll compare each prospect to will be if they have a high outcome in the NBA, and the second comparison will be if they have a medium outcome. We're going to do comparisons for the top 10 prospects in this upcoming draft, and the top 10 I'll be covering will be based on ESPN's big board. Before we continue, I want to shout out CJ Rad, who wanted a 2020 NBA draft comparisons video. So, if you have a suggestion for a topic, tell me in the comments. If you like videos like this, like the video and subscribe to help me make more dope content. Now with that said, let's continue. The first prospect on ESPN's big board is Anthony Edwards. So that's who we're going to start off with. It's very easy to see why Edwards is ranked so high. Edwards is an extremely fast, high-flying athlete that's an absolute scoring machine. He could break down a defense and posterize the big man trying to provide help, and he can shoot it from both the mid-range and the three. The player in the NBA that is most similar to Anthony Edwards is Victor Oladipo. Oladipo is similar in both size and playstyle to Anthony Edwards, in that they're both athletic freaks that can slash to the hoop really well and finish with authority. They have nearly identical measurements as they're both close to the same height, and they both have the same wingspan left at 6'9". Edwards has a lot of work to do before he reaches Oladipo's level. Pre-injury, Oladipo was not only great on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end. He was even first All-NBA defense in 2018, and he was also the steals leader. As ESPN says about Anthony Edwards, undisciplined defender who isn't always engaged. Motor and intensity on that end fluctuates. Thanks to his size and athleticism, Edwards has the potential to be a lockdown defender, but he doesn't have a high motor on that end of the court. Edwards will need to improve his effort on defense to truly max out his potential. Not only does he lack effort on defense, but he has a questionable basketball IQ, as he way too often settles for contested jumpers instead of just using his athleticism to get to the rim. It's the reason he only shot 40% from the field for Georgia and just 29% from three. This is why I do think Edwards has the potential to be the next Oladipo, but I could easily see him being the next J.R. Smith if he doesn't get that shot selection right. People don't realize how much of a physical specimen J.R. Smith was in his prime. J.R. Smith was 6'6" with a high 40-inch vertical. J.R. had all-star talent, but he never fulfilled that potential because instead of attacking the basket, he thought it was a better idea to take mid-range step backs. So Edwards' high outcome as a player would be of someone similar like Victor Oladipo, but his medium outcome would be a player more similar to J.R. Smith. The next prospect we're going to talk about is LaMelo Ball. Ball is the most talented player in this draft in my opinion. Ball brings incredible size for the point guard position at 6'8". At his size, he handles the ball extremely well and has great passing ability. Ball's main weakness is his lack of motor on defense and in shooting. Ball is such a unique player that it's hard to come up with a high outcome comparison for him, but I'm going to roll with another oversized point guard from the 90s named Penny Hardaway. Hardaway had great size for the point guard position at 6'7", and he was a really good scorer and passer, and if it wasn't for injuries, Hardaway would be in the Hall of Fame now. If LaMelo Ball can work on his weaknesses, I think he could be an elite big point guard, just like Penny Hardaway was back in the 90s. LaMelo's medium outcome is Ricky Rubio. Ball should be an elite passer in the league, but if he doesn't improve his weaknesses, he's just another Ricky Rubio. Rubio is a really good passer and ball handler too, but because he struggled with his shooting his whole career, he's just been a solid starter for the most part. Ball really needs to fix his mechanics so he can become a good shooter at the NBA level. If not, he's just another Ricky Rubio rather than the next all-star level point guard. The next prospect is center James Wiseman. Wiseman brings elite size for the center position at 7'1", and 240 pounds with a 7'6" wingspan. He's a good finisher down low, he's got a nice mid-range shot, and he's a great shot blocker thanks to his size and length. I do think that Wiseman will be good, but I think he's overrated by many fans. A lot of fans seem to think that Wiseman is the next superstar big man like Anthony Davis, but I think they're mistaken. He's got a lot of holes in his game. Yes, Wiseman is a great shot blocker, but he struggles to defend in space and to defend the pick and roll. Offensively, he's pretty raw. I don't see the superstar upside, but I think he could be a high quality starter and maybe make one or two all-star teams in his career. The high outcome comparison for Wiseman is Rudy Gobert. Similar to Wiseman, Gobert has incredible size and physical tools for the center position. Thanks to his size and basketball IQ, Gobert is the premier defensive center in the league, and he's a 15 points per game scorer. Wiseman needs to improve his discipline and awareness on defense, but if he does, he can become an all-defensive center. I don't think that Wiseman will ever be a center that can carry a team's offense like Karl-Anthony Towns, but he can be a great scorer in the pick and roll and finisher in the paint. Gobert is definitely Wiseman's high-end outcome. Wiseman's low-end outcome is Clint Capella. Capella is another center who has good size for his position. Capella, for most of his career, has been an above-average center, but not necessarily a star. If Wiseman improves defensively, but doesn't necessarily become elite and becomes a solid rim-running and pick-and-roll center, Wiseman will beat Capella at the next level. The next prospect is Deni Advija. Deni is the highest-ranked international prospect in this draft. He's a 6'9" small forward out of Israel. A lot of fans are comparing him to Luka Doncic, but I think that's unfair for Deni. In just year 2, Luka is already a superstar. Deni is no Luka, but he's a very good player in his own right. Deni is a jack-of-all-trades type of player, meaning that he's great at so many things, but not necessarily elite at one. Deni is a strong passer. He has a solid handle. He can get to the rack and finish, and he's a good defender. His main weakness is his lack of shooting. While he did shoot a good percentage for his team in Israel, he only shot 55% from the free throw line, and free throw is a pretty good indicator of how good of a shooter you are. Deni's high outcome comparison is Joe Ingles. And don't be mistaken, Joe Ingles is not an insult at all. Ingles isn't a star, but he's one of the best role players in the league. Utah would not be the team they are every year without Ingles. Ingles is a great defender despite not being very athletic. He's a good three-point shooter, he's a good ball handler, and he's a good playmaker. This is what Deni can be, especially if he gets his shooting together. A really good all-around player. He likely won't ever be an all-star, but he'll be a great supporting piece that every winning team needs. Deni's medium comparison is Maurice Harkless. If Deni never improves his shooting, I can see him becoming a player like Harkless. Harkless is a good role player. He defends pretty well, he rebounds, but his inability to shoot from the outside hurts his teams because the defense knows he's not a serious threat. This will be Deni if he doesn't max out his potential. A contributing all-around forward, but his inconsistent shot will lower his impact. The next prospect is Onyeka Okungwu. Even though Okungwu is ranked 5th by ESPN, he's arguably the best center in the draft. Okungwu is a 6'9" center out of USC. While he is undersized for the center position at just 6'9", he makes up for it in length, motor, and athleticism. Okungwu might only be 6'9", but he's got a long 7'1" wingspan, which he uses to protect the rim at a high level, averaging 2.7 blocks a game. Along with being a shot blocker, Okungwu is agile enough to defend multiple positions, and he also rebounds well, averaging 11 boards a game per 40 minutes. This makes him the perfect modern center on defense. Offensively, Okungwu is a great finisher inside, good operating out of the pick and roll, and he can even post up. Wiseman is viewed as the best center due to his size and athleticism, but I think Okungwu will have the more immediate impact on day one because he does more of the things you need an NBA center to do. Okungwu's high outcome comparison is Bam Adebayo. Adebayo is another center who, despite his size, is elite at his position. Both Bam and Okungwu have identical measurements at 6'9" with a 7'1" wingspan. Defensively, Bam can protect the rim, guard the perimeter, and rebound. And offensively, Bam is a great finisher and he can shoot from mid-range and pass the ball. Okungwu isn't the best shooter and passer, but if he works on those areas while improving the areas he already excels at, Bam is what he'll be if he maxes out his potential. Okongwu's medium outcome is Bismack Biyombo. Biyombo is another undersized center who is a good rebounder and good defensively, but he doesn't play big minutes in the league because of how limited he is on offense. If Okungwu doesn't become good on offense, he likely will be Biyombo rather than Bam, a solid center but not elite. The number 6 prospect on ESPN's big board is Obi Toppin. Toppin is easily the most skilled big man in this draft offensively. Toppin is athletic. He's an absolute bully in the post. He's a good finisher in the pick and roll. He's a good passer and he can even hit the three. Now Toppin is a mediocre rebounder and he isn't good on defense. Out of all the bigs in the draft, I believe Toppin has the highest outcome, which is why I'm comparing him to Amari Stoudemire. Stat has nearly identical measurements to Obi Toppin, and like Toppin, he wasn't a good rebounder or defender, but he more than made up for it on offense. Stoudemire was super athletic, and he used that athleticism to dominate his position. He was a great face-up scorer, had a nice mid-range J, and he was great out the pick and roll. Even Kevin Garnett had a hard time containing Stat. If Toppin doesn't become the all-star he was drafted to be, his medium outcome is Derek Favors. Favors is another 6'9" power forward who isn't good enough offensively to be elite, but he's a contributing role player. He's a strong finisher inside, and while he can't shoot the three, he's got good touch from mid-range. If Toppin can't dominate on offense, he likely becomes a good role player at the next level, similar to Favors. The number 7 prospect on the board is Isaac Okoro. Isaac Okoro is an extremely athletic, high-flying player out of Auburn. Thanks to his high motor, physical tools, and athleticism, he's a lockdown defender. He's good at slashing to the rim, but he needs to develop an outside shot. Okoro's high outcome comparison is Jimmy Butler. Butler too was a great defender in his early years that struggled with his offense. But Jimmy Butler has an insane work ethic to improve that helped him to become a star. He even said that he was so hell-bent on improving that in the summer, he cut off cable and internet and went to the gym 3 times a day. If Okoro has that same drive, he can become an elite two-way player like Jimmy Butler. Okoro's medium outcome is Justice Winslow. Winslow was another defensive-minded player who people thought had all-star upside when he was drafted in 2015, but his offense never really took off. Winslow has been a good defender his whole career, but his impact on offense has been limited due to his lack of an outside shot. This is what I think Isaac Okoro's career will be like if he doesn't improve his jumper. The number 8 prospect is Tyrese Haliburton out of Iowa State. Haliburton is a 6'6" point guard that shoots the 3 ball really well and defends and passes well. While he looks like a quality point guard, his inability to score off the dribble or hit a pull-up jumper really will lower his impact on offense. He's also got a low release that will be more easily defended in the NBA. For that reason, I believe his high outcome is George Hill. Hill has never been a star, but he's been a very good starting point guard throughout his career. Hill is great at defending opposing point guards, and he's a great three-point shooter. He even led the league in three-point percentage this year at 46%. If Haliburton improves his shot, this is what he'll be: the perfect glue guy on any NBA team. A player that will defend the other team's best perimeter player at a high level while hitting the open three at a high clip. Knicks fans aren't going to like this medium outcome, but for me, that's Frank Ntilikina. Frank is a good defender, but because he shoots the ball so horribly and can't create offense off the dribble, you can't play him too many minutes. If Haliburton can't get better on offense, he's primed to be another Frank. He should be good enough to have an impact on defense, but he really needs to improve his shooting mechanics to be more than just a defensive specialist off the bench. The number 9 prospect is Killian Hayes. I think he deserves to be ranked higher on ESPN. Hayes is my personal favorite player in this draft. He's got a really nice handle, he can shoot off the dribble, he's an excellent playmaker, and he's a great team defender. His weakness is his right hand dominance and his poor spot-up shooting. Hayes' high outcome potential is D'Angelo Russell, who was an all-star for the Brooklyn Nets. Like Hayes, Russell also has great size for the point guard position at 6'5". D'Lo passes the ball pretty well, and he's a good scorer off the bounce. Hayes will need to improve his shooting, but if he maxes out his potential, I believe he could be an all-star guard similar to Russell. The medium outcome for Hayes is Elfrid Payton. Payton is another big point guard that passes the ball extremely well, but because Payton can't shoot or score the ball efficiently, he's bounced around the league. Hayes' passing should translate, but if he can't improve that outside shot, he's just another solid point guard in this league, but not elite, similar to Elfrid Payton. And the final prospect is Precious Achuiwa. Precious is a power forward out of Memphis. He's got good size for the position at 6'9" with a 7'2" wingspan. He's an absolute beast on the boards, and he defends really well. On defense, he's the ideal modern big, able to protect the rim and defend the perimeter. Offensively, he finishes well inside, but really struggles to shoot the ball. In order to be a modern 4, you have to shoot from the outside. Achuiwa did shoot 32% from 3 from Memphis, but he shot only 60% from the free throw line. My high outcome for Precious Achuiwa is Jeremy Grant. Grant has near identical measurements to Achuiwa at 6'9" with a 7'3" wingspan, and just like him, he's also great defensively, both protecting the rim and defending perimeter players. Grant is also a modern big on offense because he can knock down the open 3 and finish. It's why Grant will be landing himself a really nice payday when he hits free agency this offseason. This outcome is only possible for Precious if he improves that outside shooting. If Precious can't become a good shooter, he's just another Noah Vonleh. Vonleh is a similar sized big who also defends and rebounds well, but he's only a bench player because he can't hit the outside shot at a respectable rate. If Precious doesn't become a legit three-point shooter, expect him to be a lot closer to Vonleh than Grant. So, there you have it, sports fans. That's comparisons for the top 10 prospects. Do you agree with my comparisons? Are there other prospects you would like me to do this for? Tell me in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.